So you're pretty much calling bullshit.
Perhaps. What do we have here? Okay. Okay, great. Well, thank you for that, Kathy. No. Okay, great.
Bro, you're saying like 3 words.
In this video, I'm going to be talking to my sister Kathiyajani about her experiences of working as a junior doctor in New South Wales hospitals. I'm sure that some of you out there who are watching this video are interested in becoming doctors or are medical students who are already on the journey to becoming a doctor, and hopefully this video will answer some of your questions about the early part of this career path. So why don't you introduce yourself, Kathiyajani?
Sure. So my name's Kathiyajani. People most commonly call me Kathy. I'm currently working in my 3rd year as a junior medical officer in New South Wales. I completed high school and went straight into medical school. I completed my medical school years up in far north Queensland at a university called James Cook University. Had the best time there, highly recommend, excellent university, before coming back down to New South Wales to do my junior medical officer years. So I completed my internship and residency, and at the moment I'm completing my senior resident medical officer year in the emergency department.
Okay, cool. And so let's not waste any more time. Let's dive straight into our first question, which is, why did you decide to study medicine?
For me personally, I was drawing a lot on my personal experiences in my life from seeing various family members being in hospital as well, and seeing the care that they received. And also I had a brief stint doing some work experience in the hospital when I was in high school, and just seeing that environment, that dynamic, also learning about the human body during my years in high school, like really fostered that interest. We also had a few family friends that were in medicine and working as doctors, and I just thought that it was something that I wanted to have a go at. I also knew that it was something that was like highly competitive and really challenging, and I think I really just wanted to push myself to see whether it was something that I could do, and kind of prove to myself as well that I was smart enough to go into it. I don't think that that is the right thinking now in hindsight, but that was my thought process back at the time.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Kathy. The next question I have is, in your experience, what have been the most enjoyable aspects of working as a junior doctor?
So I think a lot of the reasons why I went into medicine are the same reasons that I'm currently enjoying about, practicing medicine. And that's things like, meeting like-minded people and working alongside like-minded people. I really appreciate the teamwork nature of working in medicine. Like, you're working in a team, collaborating with multiple other like subspecialties and multiple other like multidisciplinary teams such as physiotherapists and occupational therapists, and so you get to meet like a whole lot of different people. You get to meet the patients as well and hear about their stories. They're in such a vulnerable position and they're sharing, and you get to share a piece of that, and I think that's something that's quite unique and something that I really appreciate, that we are meeting these patients at a time where it could be their lowest, where they're most vulnerable. And it's such a privilege to be able to be part of that and really work with other people to deliver, the best holistic care for that patient. Other reasons that I really enjoy is just the learning. So of course it's not good for the patient, but you get to see a whole lot of like disease processes, things that you study about in medical school and you're seeing right in front of your eyes, and just, being able to problem solve and critically think about what are the possible reasons that could be going on, about why they've come into hospital. And that's something that I also really enjoy. Also the continual lifelong learning, because medicine is dynamic and constantly changing. There's all this new research about new medicines and, new medical conditions as well that you need to learn about and keep up to date about. So they're things that I really appreciate about such a dynamic career. So I think they're the main reasons that I enjoy about medicine.
Okay. And so then on the other hand, what are kind of the aspects of medicine that you have liked the least, or that you haven't enjoyed?
Yeah. I would definitely just want to begin this by saying that enjoyable aspects have definitely outweighed the negative, or the things that I haven't enjoyed as much. And I think perhaps my experiences are pretty universal experiences that most junior doctors have. There have been, quite a few times where you may be asked by a consultant to make a referral to another team to get their input about the care of the patient. And you do your careful assessment and you prepare everything so that you can sound really professional and proper when you're making that referral. But then the other person on the line can really criticize and scrutinize things that you're saying, can make you feel quite incompetent. And kind of at times I've just questioned whether I'm cut out to be in medicine. And I think this is definitely not been a frequent experience for me, but they're definitely things that have stuck with me and stayed with me, and they were definitely more prevalent when I was starting out as as an intern. And I think that just that's just because I was way less experienced at the time, and so with more experience, you become better at doing referrals and making saying the pertinent things that the other person on the line wants to hear. And also you just kind of change your mindset. I think at that time I was very critical and harsh on myself, and now you can only do what you can do. You may not know everything, and you just develop that resilience and as well, and kind of mature a bit, because I did go into medical school quite young, and I was young when I started as a junior doctor, so I think a bit of maturity as well comes with it. And that's definitely gotten better. And I think as well that culture within medicine is certainly changing, where people are trying to be more, more kind and supportive, and those opportunities where you're hearing a junior doctor on the other end of the phone, like telling you about why they want you to come see their patient, can be also a great learning opportunity and providing good feedback rather than belittling them. And that's something that I personally want to, strive to be, be really encouraging and supportive of juniors, because we're all in it together. We're ultimately here to deliver care for a patient. We can't be mean to each other. So that's something that I'm pretty passionate about and want to, continue to emulate as I kind of progress in my career as a doctor. So that's one experience that I found least enjoyable. I think that other things as well that are less enjoyable but definitely still very important, and I appreciate that they are important, is the paperwork side. As a junior doctor, you're the one that has to do majority of the paperwork, so that's something that I don't enjoy as much. Another thing I guess I didn't realise, and perhaps it's more because of the type of person I am, but the emotional toll that sometimes working in medicine can take. Something I kind of struggled with initially was doing death certification. You do that a lot as a junior doctor, and I think that it's so much harder when there's that patient's family members in the room, and it's just such an emotional experience. And I think I'm definitely quite a sensitive person, and I have a lot of empathy, and there have been so many times where I've just started tearing up in front of the patient and their family, and I just feel like I feel a bit unprofessional at the time, and it's something that I've just really struggled with, and that's something that I'm just continuing to work on, just kind of creating that bit of distance, but also balancing that about maintaining empathy and, showing that I care.
It's interesting that you mentioned that about feeling like you're unprofessional when you're, tearing up or whatever. Because I don't know, I think it's nice that you care and all that. And I think it's probably not necessarily going to be, I don't think from a patient's perspective, it's not going to be an issue to the family. It's probably more so just if each time it takes that big of a toll on you, then perhaps, over time it's going to really wear you down. But I don't think it's bad necessarily from their point, or unprofessional at
Mm.
all. I guess that I'm a little bit interested as a fifth year medical student in what the typical hours look like for a junior doctor and what, you do on a typical shift. Like, what exactly is the role of a junior doctor from start to finish?
Mm. It really varies depending on what rotation you're doing. So, for example, on a medical rotation, the day typically starts at around 8 a.m, but you might arrive a bit earlier to prepare the lists for the team. I guess a really good junior doctor would have a read of the patient notes and see if there were any major events that happened overnight. But usually on medical terms, the ward rounds are much slower pace, so you can kind of get all that while you're on the round. And so you spend the morning rounding the whole team, including the consultant, and make a list of tasks that you have to do once the ward round finishes. And sometimes the rounds can be really long, and so sometimes you may finish the ward round at 2 p.m, which is pretty late, and then you only technically have 2.5 hours to complete all the tasks that you have to do. Sometimes you might be doing tasks during the round as well, just to help be really efficient, and that's something that I've definitely learnt to do as I've progressed, rather than so that I don't need to stay back late more. And so that's typically what the days are like on a medical rotation.
Okay, so I'm just going to interrupt you there and kind of ask about specific things.
Yeah.
So what exactly, when you're doing the medical ward rounds, for example, what exactly are you doing? You're just writing notes? Is that kind of mainly?
Yeah, so as the junior doctor, so where was working, it's all paper-based, so you're the one like writing the notes. And then you also jot down a list of tasks that you have to do on a separate piece of paper. That's like your list with all the patients. So you do those things, and you might be the one also controlling the computer, and so you need to look at like the blood test results or any imaging and update the consultant of those. You might need to look in the observation chart. So the observation chart kind of tracks the patient's heart rate, their respiratory rate, all these vital signs that kind of give an early indicator whether the patient is unwell or not.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that, you kind of have to do multiple things.
What exactly are you thinking about on a ward round? Like, is your mind just thinking about it's like empty as you're like writing down the notes, or are you thinking about the medicine? Like, does the doctor ever ask about your opinion on like what's going on? The consultant I'm talking about, and like what's the registrar doing in these times?
So I guess like on the medical ward round, I'm occupied with writing the notes and checking the lab work and the obs chart and the imaging results, having a flick through the previous notes and seeing if there's any other pertinent things that I need to flag with the rest of the team. Meanwhile, either the consultant or the registrar will be the ones like examining the patient. The consultant usually has a discussion, with the registrar about what could be going on and teaching that way. Sometimes it's very variable. It depends on the consultant. Sometimes they involve like the junior staff, and that has been mostly like most of medical physicians. They really take it on themselves to do teaching. At least my experiences where I've done internship and residencies, that's something that I appreciated. At the time, I guess I'm just really focused on making sure I'm not missing a task that needs to be done, and seeing where I can kind of be time efficient and do it. So if it's ordering bloods for the next day, like I might do it then and there, or ordering any imaging while they're having discussions. If there's sometimes a lot of the imaging that you request, you need to discuss with a radiologist about to get approval, so you could do things like that. Yeah, so you're just really trying to find ways to be efficient with your time so that you can go early and you don't need to stay back. That's what I tend to do. Yeah.
Okay, and so like what can you just list out, you don't have to go in extreme detail about them, but just like the typical jobs that you do after a ward round. What are jobs that you kind of do?
So it might be things like putting in a cannula, resiting a cannula for a patient, taking bloods for a patient, ordering investigations, as I said, such as, like images, like ordering an X-ray or a CT scan. Sometimes you might need to do MRIs, which are a bit harder to get, and you might get some pushback from radiologists. But that's typically what you sometimes nursing staff may call you to flag to you a patient that may have deteriorated since your ward round in the morning, and you might need to be the person to go assess them and then feed that back to your team to get advice if needed about where to go from here. So that there are things called like a clinical review where you might get called to see your patient, and then and then there might be patients that might be deemed safe or appropriate for discharge. So you'll do the discharge summary and organise their medications and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is some medicine scattered in amongst it, like when you do a clinical review.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question I have is, do you regret choosing medicine? Do you wish that you had chosen a different career pathway?
I don't think so. So, as I said earlier, medicine, I feel, kind of encapsulates a lot of my interests. So my interests such as like the human body and learning about disease process, getting to see patients and, problem solving, critically thinking, working in a team with variety of different people. They're all things that I really enjoy and I think are quite unique to medicine. To be honest, during my high school years, I wasn't aware to a lot of other professions. I mean, aside from the obvious like engineering, lawyer, accounting, and none of those seemed of any interest to me.
But I'm sure even then you probably like didn't really know, like, okay, what does an engineer do? Like, I'm sure you still don't know, right? It was just that at the time those were just things that were proposed as potential careers. Like, those were the degrees that were talked about, I guess, at uni. But is there anything that you would change about, your pathway into medicine? Would you, like, do another degree before doing it? Would you travel more? Would you work, take a gap year? And I guess it's hard because medicine is one of those things where, like, if you get in, you've kind of got to take it because it's, like, difficult to get in.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you wish, like, you could have deferred potentially starting? Is there anything that you would have changed about your pathway?
At times, I used to think that I would have appreciated maybe having a gap year between finishing high school and getting into medical school. Often once you get into medicine, it's like a treadmill. You're focused on passing medical school, being a competent junior doctor, finding ways that you can kind of work towards your chosen career subspecialty within medicine. And so yeah,
once you're on that treadmill, like, it's very easy to find yourself in 10 years' time, like, on the training program, slogging away. And I guess I have missed a lot of life that other people might have seen.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the reasons why you were considering doing a gap year. But do you think you would? Like, if you could go back and do it again, would you do a gap year?
It's really hard. I think maybe it would have been a great opportunity to travel. That's something that I really enjoy doing. And I think it always helps, with if the more mature you are entering into medicine, because it can be quite grueling and you need to be, have developed that emotional maturity. And so perhaps, I don't think that there's anything wrong with getting into medicine later and doing different things earlier. But I guess I just got into medical school straight from high school. So I didn't want to muck around. It was already a 6-year degree. Whereas like my other colleagues were doing degrees in university for 3-4 years and then starting working. So that was also something that was going through my mind at the time. And also at James Cook, a lot of the people that went there were also straight from high school. So you're in a cohort of similar age group. So that was also something that was really fun and something that I appreciated during my university experiences was growing with like all these people, my colleagues, and I've had really fond memories from my time in medical school. So I don't think I regret it, but I can definitely see a benefit of, trying different things before entering into medicine.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess related to that then, and I'm stealing this question from Ali Abdal, as you would know. If you won the lottery, tomorrow, do you think that you would continue working in medicine full time, or would you completely drop the career, do something else, or would you do the in between and work part time?
The way I see it is, I want to spend my time doing things that are consistent with my values. I have such a genuine desire to help people. I really enjoy learning about the human body, as I said earlier, and so I think that I definitely would still do medicine, but perhaps not full time, because I also do really value my life outside of medicine. I really enjoy spending time with my family and my friends. I like traveling. I want to develop focus more on my other hobbies as well, and further diversify myself and develop my skill set. And so I think regardless if I won the lottery, I think this is the way that I'm kind of heading, and what I kind of envision my future career to look like.
Okay. So then why, if that is something that you feel strongly about, why not do it part-time this year or, next year? Why is it something that you can only do, in the future sometime?
So I think at this stage, I just don't know enough about what I would rather be doing with the other half of my time. It's definitely something that I'm looking more into this year. I was very much kind of on the treadmill up until last year. I was really just focused on being a competent, passing medical school and being a competent junior doctor. And I think just conversations with you actually initiated me thinking about my future and how I wanted my life to look like. And so that's something that I'm going to look more into this year. I think it's also much easier to do part-time work once you're on certain training programs that I'm interested in. So for example, I'm not sure how it would work. Actually, I think on surgery you can do part-time, because I know people that do like part-time surgery, part-time research. But for me, areas within medicine that I'm interested in is in emergency medicine. At this stage, that may change. I'm not sure, but I know that emergency medicine really, their college is really good in terms of doing, for part-time training, because there's so many females there. They have families, and so I think once I kind of decide a bit more about what I want to do career-wise, like in terms of medicine, getting onto a training program, and then I can kind of step it back. I mean, it's not ideal. Obviously, if you want to spend your time doing other things, you should do that. But I think I'm still able to do my hobbies and other things while still at the moment working full-time in medicine. I'm just kind of easing into it now. And so we'll see. At the moment, I'm really enjoying working in the emergency department. I'm at it was a kind of quite a big change. Like, I'm now in a different network. I love the old network that I was in, and now I'm in a new one. And so initially it was a bit rough in that, just learning a whole new system, but I've kind of settled in a bit and I'm really enjoying that. And it's not too, overwhelming or demanding on my life outside, because it's just kind of shift work. You just work your 10 hours. It's only 4 shifts a week, and then you have all this other time to do other things. So I'm finding that I'm still able to kind of have that good work-life balance. So yeah, we'll see what the future holds. And, yeah.
Okay. I want to go back to something, or a couple of things that you said. So you mentioned that you want to that you wanted to do emergency potentially. That's like one of the things that you're interested in. And I know, from other conversations that we've had off camera, that some of your friends have already chosen what they want to do. And I guess, I'm curious to hear more about your experiences as being somebody who is still unsure of what they want to do. Because, I mean, it's not like it's unheard of, but I'm sure it's like there is an element of stress that it puts on you not having an idea of what specialty it is that you want to pursue in the future.
After finishing med school, I kind of had no idea. Oh, actually, no. I actually thought I was going to do physician training. That's kind of what I had my heart set on until I started working as a junior doctor, and I got a bit more of an understanding of what the life is like as a consultant physician. Obviously, like, you know, looking at how it is being a registrar on a training program, like you're only that for a couple, you know, 4, 5, 6 years, and then you're a consultant. So that's what you're going to be spending the majority of your working life being. And so just seeing what the consultant physician life is like was just not something that I envisioned my future to be like. So over like a year and a half, only really like last year, midway through last year, I kind of decided I don't think I want to do physician training. So that kind of left me a bit stumped. And at that time I was doing a rotation in emergency medicine and I was enjoying it. But I think that was kind of a thought I had a bit later, and I just want to, at the time, like, you know, initially I was quite stressed about, not knowing, what am I going to apply for jobs for next year? I have no idea what I'm doing. And that's something that took a lot for me to kind of overcome. And honestly, I'm still kind of like trying to overcome that, just kind of not really knowing exactly what I'm going to be doing with my career in medicine. But I think it is okay. Like, it definitely is okay. I've talked to a few other, you know, more senior doctors about this, and something really good about medicine is that each year that you spend is not a year in waste. You're developing your knowledge base and your skill set, and so ultimately that's just going to help you become a better, well-rounded clinician. So I think changing my mindset, it's okay to not know exactly what you're going to do, and yes, that can be quite overwhelming, and yes, it can be quite stressful, but it's okay. You can take your time, try out different things. It's not a race.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I don't think I have any further questions for you today. I would, you know, in a future video, like to pick your brain a little bit more about other questions that I might have, and that other people, you know, you guys might have to ask Kathiyajani here. So if you do have any questions for my sister for future videos, please drop them in the comment section down below. I would really, you know, appreciate that, and I'm sure Kathy would love another opportunity to come up.
Yeah.
So much enthusiasm. Okay, well, thank you very much for participating. It was it was really nice to have you and have this conversation and finally get you involved in a YouTube video.
I've been behind the scenes a lot, as you know. I'm the one that takes the photos of Kathiyajani. So.
Yeah, righto. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, is there anything else that you want to add, or anything that you're working on that you'd like to share to the world? The 91 subscribers.
91 subscribers, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm working at a blog at the moment, but it's currently it's private, and it's not, I don't think it's accessible publicly. But I'm kind of using it as an opportunity to, discuss my experiences of working as a junior doctor, but I also am using it to discuss experiences of living in a Western society and being like a second generation Sri Lankan, and just, you know, talking about those experiences and challenges as well. And so that's something that I'm working on at the moment, and stay tuned, and maybe it will become publicly available at some point.
Whoa.
At this stage.
Okay, well, when it does finally become public, I will leave a link to it in the description section down below. I don't think I have anything else to ask you, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Bye!